Ranked 5th nationally and 3-0 after a 35-0 win against North Park, North Central goes into the battle for the Little Brass Bell against Wheaton. Head coach Jeff Thorne is on to talk about that. We have all that and more next on the Red Zone.
The presenting sponsor of the Red Zone is Athletico, the preferred provider of physical therapy and athletic training for North Central College.
Welcome into the Red Zone, a 35-0 win at North Park. Coach, welcome to the show. And great game, obviously a shutout. Your defense was phenomenal. Let's start right there because they were put in some tough spots, and boy, did they perform. They did. You know, that's something we talk about regularly with the offense, and unfortunately, the offense didn't turn the ball over. Well, fortunately for us, but it was our special teams units that gave up a couple of untimely turnovers, and we've got to get that fixed. But our defense, the response of our defense was exactly what you look for. We do, you know, sudden change situations in practice on a daily basis, and they stepped up, and we got a fumble on the first one after a kind of a botched punt, and then we got a nice interception from Matt Sutherland after the fumbled kickoff to open the second half. Let me throw some numbers at you and just get your reaction. 1 yard a carry, 4 yards per pass attempt. That's against your defense. As an offensive coach, that would frustrate the heck out of you, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I just think we're doing a great job of running the football. We're closing out on, you know, receivers that might be open to make a catch, but we're getting there quickly. And it's something that Coach Durking's doing a great job with our defense. Our guys are embracing the idea of running to the football and getting 11 hats to the football. And when you do that consistently, that's defensive football. It's tackle the ball carrier. I don't care how you get them down. Get as many people to the ball as you can, and certainly you need to be gap sound and sound in the secondary. But we're tackling better than we did a year ago, and we're running the football better. That's exciting to see. You mentioned the turnovers, and obviously that's a crucial part of the game. You can get as many stops as you want, but sometimes you just have to take the football away. You get 2 in this game, the fumble recovery by Isaiah Ziegler, a freshman, and then the pick by Matt Sutherland. How important are those to try and change the dynamic of the game? Oh, they're huge. You know, you're looking at giving up 7 points or 3 points, and suddenly the ball's in your hands, and we can go on a long drive. I think we had a 21-play drive after one of those turnovers that turned into a touchdown. So they're huge. They're momentum changers in the game, and that's why you hear coaches and people in the game of football all the time talk about turnovers and turnover margin. It's a really important stat. Linebackers, we've talked about them the last 2 weeks as well. They've been phenomenal. Stepping up even more in this game, Ben Wong. Because DJ Workenthien is going to be the focal point of a lot of opposing offenses, watching what he's doing on the field. But Ben in this game, 11 tackles. He led the team. Is he steadily improving over the course of the first few weeks? Without a doubt. You know, he was our special teams player of the year last year as a freshman. Made a lot of plays on special teams. Blocked a couple of punts, recovered a couple fumbles, forced a couple fumbles, all on special teams. So we knew Ben had a nose for the football. We knew that he had big playmaking ability. It was just a matter of time being patient with him. He's extremely cerebral. He's a 4.0 student, and he's a neuroscience major. Holy smokes. So Ben is very, very intelligent. Sometimes guys that are that smart, there's this idea of paralysis by analysis, and they overthink things, and that's something that we've kind of had to work with Ben on a little bit through the course of camp in the first few weeks, and he's getting better and better and better. It's fun to watch, especially. I mean, you guys have had some great linebackers, Wanger, Sora in recent years. But let's talk about Workenthien because 3 tackles for a loss. Defensive. He was on the All D3 football team. The sky's the limit for this guy, isn't it? Could he be like the defensive player of the year in the country? You know, I hope so. Certainly, he's going to be in the conversation for Conference Player of the Year as a defensive player. His statistics, when you look at his career. You know, and he was behind Tommy Sora and Justin Sturzma for a couple of years there. But when he was getting playing time in those seasons, from a productivity standpoint, on a per-play basis, DJ was the most productive player we had. He's been a dynamic player since the day he showed up. His attitude is contagious. He works like crazy in the weight room. He's a fabulous student, like a 3.6 GPA. I think he's double major. So he brings a lot to the table, and he brings a passion for the game, and you see it when he plays. You can't help but tell, hey, there's a guy right there that loves to play football. And he finds his way into the action all the time. You can see it. You can also hear it a lot of times, too. DJ is not a quiet guy. Talking about a guy who shows up and produces right away, Tommy Highland. So he transfers in, I think, a few days before training camp, and he has a sack in each of his first 3 games. You know, he came in as a defensive end. You know, as we were talking off camera, he's a highly, highly talented
player with a huge frame, and he runs exceptionally well. We had some depth at defensive end, and we had a need at defensive tackle, and credit to Tommy, he's handled that move brilliantly, unselfishly, and he's seeing the fruits of having a great attitude and working hard and doing things, being coachable.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of plays, and the more he continues to do that, the more that's going to free things up on the outside for guys like Josh, who we'll talk to here in a few minutes.
A lot of new guys on this team, not just in the way of transfers, but also freshmen. And you have a lot of contributors across the field. Ethan Greenfield might be the most impactful one of them so far, because as a running back, you can impact the game directly. And boy, has he been really good. He
has been. We were expecting him to be a really good player. He's one of a few really, really good freshman running backs in this class. So, looking down the road, we're going to have running back by committee. Right now, Ethan certainly is spearheading those efforts and doing a phenomenal job.
And soon he'll be running behind a left tackle. So there's a little bit of a shakeup on the offensive line. Will Ebert is going to get, I think, the starting nod this week, right?
He started in the North Park game. So, yeah, he got his first start on Saturday. Will's a kid from Hersey High School that we had really felt very, very good about. He'll share time. Jake Fiedler is still he's a junior. He's got a little bit more experience and has done a very good job and has handled this transition really, really well, which we are not surprised by. Jake's a great kid. So, yeah, Will be on the field, and Jake will too.
Awesome. And we're going to finish this North Park game up in a moment. We have Check the Tape coming up. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Arena Americas, specialists in providing full-service rental solutions for events and special occasions of all sizes.
Welcome back, and now it's time to check the tape, and we want to close out this North Park game. And the first play I want to get to, we talked about in the first segment, was DJ Workenthien. 3 tackles for a loss in this game. This is a big one of them, and this is a sack, and this is kind of one of his specialties, is flying around the edge.
He's built low to the ground, just in stature, and he does a great job of really dipping his shoulders when he comes around corners. Former wrestler, was a great wrestler in high school, and so a lot of those skills that he learned in that sport have transitioned into football, and he makes plays like this all the time. It's just been a joy to watch DJ play for 4 years.
This is a guy with a very incredibly high level of skill set, is Andrew Kaminsky.
Yeah.
This is one of the best catches I've seen, period.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the office just 2 days ago. Coach Spencer, the receiver coach, and our assistant head coach mentioned the exact same thing. That might be the best catch we've seen, and there's been a lot of great ones. Pete Sorensen had some really special catches, in his time, and certainly our other great receivers, but that is just an incredibly athletic play. Drew is not blessed with that 6'4" frame that Ryan Kuhl and Pete Sorensen had, but he's got fast twitch. He can get off the ground as a jumper and go high point the ball. But he's just a gamer. He makes plays every single week, and he makes plays when we need him the most.
I mean, it seems like he always shows up.
Yeah.
Last play I want to get to is, and we talked about again in the first segment, Ethan Greenfield, but I want to get your take on just kind of the way that he is able to get upfield in a hurry and just the way he plays.
Ethan's got tremendous vision, and he's got great feet, and his ability to move side to side and just kind of feel his way through space and to space is pretty special for a kid his age. On top of that, he's a tackle breaker as a freshman, and that's valuable at the running back position. It's rare we're going to be able to open holes up wide enough that nobody's going to touch you. You've got to run through arm tackles. You've got to break tackles when people are trying to get to your legs, and he does a terrific job of keeping people off of his legs.
Now let's shift the attention to a little game coming up this week. It's
little one.
The battle for the little brass bell. Now, from outside your building, everybody looks at the rankings. You're 5th. They're 21st. They lost to Illinois Wesleyan.
Yeah.
But you can't look at that loss, can you?
Well, no. I mean, records, you throw them out the window in this game. They will be sky high, ready to play. I mean, their season's on the line on Saturday, and every time they play North Central, they are as high as they can possibly be. And you know, that wears off after the first few plays, and then you play football. But they do a great job of playing fantastic high-level football every time they play North Central, and that's what we'll get Saturday night. I know it.
Yeah, and that's what the fans will show up to see too. 100th meeting.
Yeah.
And you've been a part of this program for a while, but what does it mean to be a part of this 100th meeting? That's a pretty amazing number right there.
It is. It's a special rivalry for a lot of reasons, but you know, the last 12 years, the conference champion has been us or Wheaton, along with there's been times where there's been a tie, but Wheaton and North Central have been involved in winning the conference championship 12 years in a row, so there's added importance right then and there. The conference season is on the line. Oftentimes when our two teams play, we're playing earlier in the year this year, so we certainly still have a lot of very difficult games that we have to look forward to. We take it 1 week at a time. This happens to be this week's big game.
Yeah.
And it happens to be Wheaton. There happens to be a big trophy involved, so we're going to have fun with it and get excited for it.
Let's talk about that trophy, because last year, bitter taste in your mouth after that game. You guys have to give it back to them. What's the conversation like in trying to get that back into your own building?
Let's go play good football. Let's play our best football. We played a great first half against Wheaton last year, had the 48-hour halftime, which was pretty unique.
Yeah.
But the reality still exists that on Monday night, they played a lot better than we did, and they deserved to win the game because they played that much better than we did. So putting four good quarters together, and that's kind of our rallying cry this week. Let's play 4 quarters of our best football, and let's see what happens.
Last year you saw Curtis McWilliams for the first time, their starting quarterback. What kind of adjustments, what kind of game does he present? What challenges does he present for Shane Durkin and company?
He's a talented passer. He's got a really strong arm, probably the strongest arm we'll see all season. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, so he's a bigger kid, and he's got some mobility to him too. So he presents a lot of challenges. We're going to have to be disciplined with our eyes. We're going to have to keep him in the pocket, and got to cover people. Yeah. It sounds pretty simple, doesn't it?
It does, but one of the guys that you won't have to account for this year, Sola Oluteju, who in their program history, he has the most yards of any non-quarterback, which, I mean, again, this is a storied program just like you guys are.
Right.
Obviously missing him, somebody has to step up. Is there a running back, or is there a good stable of running backs that they have that you have to prepare for?
They've got Wheaton's Wheaton, and when they graduate really good players, they've got guys that are juniors and seniors that have been waiting their time that are going to step in and do a great job, and they're no different this year than they have been in all the other years. Now, am I going to miss Sola? Not at all. I'm glad we don't have to face him because he was dynamic, but I'm glad we don't have to face Trey Hanley. I'm glad we don't have to face Chase Greenlee and Austin Hoover. That being said, the players that they have on the field are still really, really good football players.
I'm sure they're saying the same thing about Austin Brunick. Oh, that guy's gone. We'll be fine.
Right.
Hey, Ethan Greenfield, Dan Magalu, we'll see.
Yeah.
But then how about the defense? Eric Stevenson is going to anchor that linebacking core, and they still have some heavy hitters on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think Stevenson's one of the best linebackers in the country, without question. He's very, very intelligent, does not make mistakes, and he's a big, sturdy guy that runs well. And you don't see Mike linebackers like that play the pass as well as he does in his career. He's got several interceptions, and he's just always where he's supposed to be. So, you know, we have to know where he is at all times.
Now, Coach, next week we'll be in the Cardinal room taping on campus, and I'm really hoping that when you come down the road, you can bring that little brass bow with you.
That would be fun.
Let's get you out of here on this. Your quick hit.
Yeah.
If you just get given $1 million right now, I don't have it on me, but let's just say I did, what would you do with it?
Well, I'd find a really, really a charity that I was excited about that I'd want to give a big chunk of it to. Certainly would want to take care of my family and maybe find a vacation home on the beach. And then if I had anything left, maybe help build an indoor at North Central. That'd be kind of fun.
Nice. Coach, thanks so much,
Thanks,
and good luck against Wheaton.
Thanks.
Coming up next, we have a couple players joining me on set. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back.
When you want to talk, I'm here.
Well, that's one way to quite literally grab TRZ's play of the game. Sophomore Andrew Kaminsky with the phenomenal catch, and number 11 already now has almost 300 yards receiving and 4 scores in 2018. Welcome back into the Red Zone. Colton, Bauknecht, Josh Leonhard on the show. And guys, big game this week. But first, before we go to this week, let's go back to last week. And Will Ebert, Colton, I want to start with you. Gets his first start as the left tackle. And as the right tackle, I'm sure you shared a little bit of wisdom with him. He's a freshman. How is he doing with that transition, and what kind of player is he?
Good, for sure. Well, we knew he was going to come in and be a player. I mean, I've seen him over the summer work. And from my perspective, last year, Joe Fairley kind of took me under his wing and helped me out. So I feel like I can do that for Ebert too, and he's going to be a great kid, great player for us.
I didn't plan this question, but having Joe still around, is that kind of fun?
Yeah, I love it. I love having Joe still around. He's still helping me out and whatnot.
Now, one guy that was a tackle and is now the center, he stands at 6'4", Ricky Sturba. You don't traditionally find centers that big, but he's made the transition beautifully. How's he playing?
Good. Rick's phenomenal. Rick's a guy that you can trust playing tackle, guard, center. He can come in, he can be a leader on the offensive line, and he kind of runs stuff at center. We love having him there. He
can move.
Yeah, he can move for a big boy.
Just speaking of guys who can move, Tommy Highland. So you're on the outside. Tommy was coming in to play defensive end, but he's now on the inside. As a defensive end, to have that kind of motor and play on the inside, he's got 3 sacks, and it's a big reason why, isn't it?
Yes, sir. He, right away when he came to visit, walked in the door, he's like 6'5", at the time 260. And they asked him to move to D-tackle. He was not a selfish guy at all.
Yeah.
Really embraced it. So it's good to have big athletic bodies on the line all across the board.
It makes your job a little bit easier when those guys are commanding double teams. Isaiah Ziegler's a big guy. He's coming in as a freshman. What's that dynamic like? Do you guys talk about, hey, try and suck that guy up so I can get around the edge?
Yeah, there's different plays where people have different responsibilities, and Tommy and Lane, Isaiah, the other D tackles, they do a great job taking up guys for our linebackers and me to come off the edge or come inside. So it's been pretty great so far.
Colton, going back to you, you have a stable of running backs, and Coach alluded to this as well. A lot of guys that can do some real damage in the run game. I want to talk specifically about Ethan Greenfield. So he comes in, and he has set the world on fire with the football in his hands. Has it been fun to watch him develop?
Yeah, from the first day of camp, he started making plays. He's been making plays, and what coaches always say is if you get the ball and make plays, you're going to keep getting the ball. And it's nice to have somebody like that on the field because, we have him who's more like a lightning back, and then Dom who can come in and be the thunder and punch the ball on 3rd and 1, get that first down for us.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you prefer run blocking or pass protecting?
Run blocking is a lot of fun.
That's what I've heard. Offensive linemen like putting their hands in the dirt and going, right?
Yeah.
But a majority of the job is pass protecting for Brock Rutter. I'm sure he makes it fairly easy, too, because he gets the ball out of his hands so quickly. What's it like playing with Brock?
Brock has a lot of energy, and he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in Division III, and it's just really important to keep him protected. And almost if he gets hit, it's almost like a little brother getting hurt. So just always want to protect him.
That makes sense. Speaking of guys that are playing behind you, those linebackers are flying around. So Ben Wong comes in. DJ Workington's been DJ Workington for a few years now. But knowing that those guys, whatever you start, they have the potential to finish. What's that like?
It's nice to have them back there. They're big and fast, and like Coach said earlier, they're really smart. So sometimes we have some disconnect, and we just know that it doesn't matter what it is. We just go with what the linebackers say. Yeah. And so if we're all wrong, we're right, essentially. Yeah.
That helps.
All on the same page.
And then we hear covered sack a lot. So if the defensive line can't get to the quarterback in 2.5, 3 seconds, it then falls in the secondary to try and cover up. Feels like they've been doing that really well this year. Have you been sensing that?
They have been, yeah. A couple of games the quarterback's been getting the ball out of his hand pretty quick, but there's been times where we weren't doing our job the best, and the quarterback's still back there with the ball, so we attribute a lot of that success to linebackers, DBs.
Now, guys, Wheaton, they're coming up. Thunder, you have a bad taste in your mouth from last year. There's no way about, getting around that. Colton, you said you've been waiting for this game for a year. Are you ready? You feel like you're mentally and you're physically ready to take on the Thunder?
Yeah, we're definitely ready. We've been putting in a hard week of practice, and just since it was the weirdest game that I'm sure a lot of us have all been a part of, so we have something to prove coming around.
And Josh, I mean, you get the chance to sit around all day, getting pumped up for this game. To play it under the lights, to play it with all the circumstance, how fun is that going to be? It's
really fun. Going back to high school, playing under the lights. I definitely prefer playing under the lights because it's more dramatic and everybody's energized. But waiting around all day is not preferred, but it's fun to play under the lights.
Oh, you'll be ready, I'm sure. Guys, we'll get you out of here on this. The quick hits. First question for you guys. I like this one. If you could star in a remake of any movie, we'll start with Colton on this one. Which movie would it be and which character would you play?
Probably The Water Boy, and I'd want to be Bobby Boucher.
Nice. That's awesome. Josh?
I just want one character and one scene, Will Ferrell in The Wedding Crashers.
That's
in
awesome.
his mom's house.
The meatloaf.
Yeah.
Would that go over well at your house?
Probably not. No. I'd get kicked out.
Josh, we'll start with you on this one. Your favorite class back in high school? You mentioned playing under the lights. What was your favorite class during the day?
My favorite class was definitely economics. We had a really conservative teacher who just kind of threw it all at us.
Yeah.
And, I just really liked it.
I'm guessing you're an econ major.
Yeah, finance econ. So I took
makes sense.
took that into college.
Nice. How about you?
Probably my Spanish class, believe it or not. I had a really awesome Spanish professor, and she was a lot of fun.
Sometimes the teacher makes all the difference. Can you still speak Spanish?
Not really.
Neither can I. I took it for years. No
Still
idea.
can't speak it.
Yeah, no. Well, guys, last one. Colton, if you get $1 million, what are you doing with it?
Definitely take care of my family first. It'd be awesome. Thank my parents, and then I'd probably hook up the football team with stereo for the locker room.
Nice.
Probably, like Coach Thorne said, help with the indoor facility.
Beautiful. Josh?
I would invest it, not to seem selfish, but
He's the econ major. It makes sense.
You can do more good with $2 million than $1 million.
Guys, thanks so much for hopping on. We appreciate it. Best of luck trying to recapture the brass bell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we'll go to the Cardinal Corner. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is sponsored by Belgio's Catering.
That is the little brass bell, and these guys want it back. And why wouldn't they? Look at it sitting there, ready for the taking. And who gets it? It's a matter of who wins. Wheaton, they won it last year on their home turf after a bizarre 48-hour game. The year before, well, that was North Central's turn to hoist it. But the history goes back further than 2 years. Try 1946. That's when the idea was proposed, and it was put into action. Since that moment, there's been 67 battles for the little brass bell. Wheaton has won 46 of them. Recent history, though, favors the Cardinals, 6 victories in the last decade. As for the bell itself, its history is a long one, so we'll speed it up. It came to the area in 1837, then became part of a political feud between the cities and where the county courthouse should be. There was a midnight raid, things were taken, the bell is among them. The story says the bell then wound up with a local farmer who had 2 sons. One son went to North Central, the other, Wheaton. Not surprisingly, college kids did what college kids do, and another series of midnight raids to recapture the bell had it bouncing back and forth between the 2 college campuses for years. And then, it disappeared. It reappeared in 1940, became the prized possession once more in 1946, and we can now fast forward back to the present. And not only does the winner now get the bell, in the last 12 years, North Central or Wheaton has been champion or co-champion of the conference each year. So yeah, it's a big deal. Question is, who wants it more in 2018?
And we're back and wrapping up the Red Zone with Clark Tuscher, Sports Information Director, as always. Clark, a special week for you guys. These weeks always seem fun when you have a special occasion to cap the end of the week, and this week is one in particular, 100th anniversary or 100th meeting between North Central and Wheaton on the football field. What are you guys doing to gear up for that?
Well, it's always an exciting week on campus because you can kind of feel the anticipation build throughout the week. But this being the 100th meeting, we've tried to really kind of celebrate the history of the rivalry throughout the week on our social media accounts. Just kind of pointing to some of the bigger moments in the history of the rivalry. Even though they've been playing for a traveling trophy since 1946, their rivalry with football goes all the way back to 1900. So it's by far the most extensive rivalry of any of our opponents that we play year in and year out. So we're kind of taking an opportunity to celebrate that a little bit and call some attention to some big moments and some big performances, and we'll continue that through the rest of the week until the game on Saturday night.
And speaking of Saturday night, I'm sure a lot of hoopla will be going on under the lights. You had the circumstance of the game. Outside the brass bell, it's also pretty much the battle for the conference as well, at least for the last 12 years. What do you anticipate from Saturday night?
It should be a very fun. We always get a good crowd when those teams play each other. Wheaton tends to travel pretty well wherever they go. This is the week that we always get the questions on whether you're going to have advanced sales or it's going to be a sellout or anything like that. Well, we would have to turn people away for that to happen, and we've never done that. So I don't think that's a concern. Everybody might not have a seat, but everybody will be able to watch the game. So I think it's going to be a very charged atmosphere. It's a lot of fun for $6.
And if you don't want to show up, you can tune into NCTV 17.
Absolutely.
There's a shameless plug right
Absolutely.
there. Clark, let's get to some other sports, starting with women's cross country, because they've been performing extremely well as of late, haven't they?
They went to Augustana on Friday and finished first in a very large meet that included a lot of conference schools. The last 2 meets they've been to, they've had a lot of conference opposition and have finished first both times. Diane Barajas once again with an individual championship, but we talked about her last week coming back from some illness earlier in the season. Certainly seems to be in top form right now. So they're with about 4 weeks to go before the conference championship. They're feeling very good about where they're at.
Elena Katapisai and the women's tennis team is performing well, and she actually, I think, just won Player of the Week, and she's one of many players that have improved from the start of the season to now.
Yeah, that literally came out right before I joined you here on set. So, but yeah, she's the conference tennis player of the week. They went to the Intercollegiate Tennis Association Regional Championships last weekend. Her and her doubles partner, Hannah Haugland, advanced to the round of 16 in that event, which is the first time we've had somebody advance that far in that particular tournament in about 10 years as our number one doubles pairing. So. Definitely, for two players in their first year on campus, that's very promising, for the future, given the fact that they're two of our top singles players as well. So, very, very positive signs with the conference tournament just a couple of weeks away.
Diana Barcelata in that fold as well, and that's suddenly a pretty lethal team for Ryan Jump. Let's finish up with women's volleyball because it's been a particularly tough season, but they did just claim a win.
They hosted the Tiffany Robinson Memorial Tournament over the weekend. Had a couple of tough losses earlier in the tournament. Capped it off against Maranatha Baptist, down 2-0, came back and won it 3-2. It was their first win since very early in the season. It's been a tough go of it for that group. Still showing a lot of toughness, a lot of fight, and I think in the long run, that'll get them where they're looking to go.
We'll get you out of here on this. Fun question. If you could star in the remake of any movie and you had to play one character in that movie, what movie and what character?
One of my favorite movies of all time is The Men Who Stare at Goats, which I don't think a lot of people have seen. It's a George Clooney, Ewan McGregor movie. About some interesting things that the Army was doing back in the 80s, and I've always been a real big fan of it. And the Ewan McGregor's character, the journalist who goes over there, I think that probably would be the best one for me to play.
That's awesome. Clark, thanks for stopping by. Is there a different energy in the building when the brass bell resides at North Central?
Certain buildings. I think there's definitely a space in the football office that is carved out for that specific trophy, and it always just feels a little bit empty when it's not there. So they're looking forward to bringing that back to what they consider to be that trophy's home.
Well, hopefully they can do that, and thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week.
You got it.
That'll do it for the Red Zone. Wheaton is up next on Saturday. We'll have the broadcast, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff on NCTV 17. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Kevin Jackman.